Hello, I'm Roger, and welcome back to the Knynman Raj YouTube channel. As we came to the end of 2017 and we're moving into 2018, I thought this would be a good opportunity for me to take a look back at some of the cool things and places that we went to during 2017. Went to some new places, went to some old places that are our favorites and we will always continue to go back to. But my goal was to go to do some new places and do some hiking in some areas that haven't been to before. And one of those new areas that we went to, and we did this hike in February because the weather was just beautiful, but I did this hike with Matt, the Southwest Backpacker, and Ruben. And the Tent Rocks National Monument is a place I've never been before, and so I thought this would be a good place to go up and take a hike. So we're going to start it out with the Tent Rocks National Monument. We had a great time. Another beautiful formation.
Some cool stuff. Yeah, guys.
And we're not sure how far we are to the end. We think we're probably getting pretty close. We've done well over a mile. Look at all that, all the different layers. Yeah, now that was a great trip. I would suggest the Tent Rocks National Monument for anybody to go check out. If you haven't been there, go see it. I'd recommend it. Great place to go. Thanks to Ruben and Matt for hanging out with me on that trip. So moving on, the next trip, which was really cool, we went up to Matt's place, Daybreak, up in the Manzano Mountains. And I had a couple of things I really wanted to work on. I wanted to do start a series really with the foil pack cooking. I had one complete, so I wanted to do that. And I did a breakfast foil pack with the Mexico green chili, and man, it came out great. Breakfast was great. So we had another project that we wanted to start that I've been wanting to do, and that was kind of do a camp chat thing, sitting around the camp, talking and discussing locations where we're at. And so Matt, the Southwest Backpacker, and I decided to sit down and make a trial run as our first camp chat, and I think it went out really well. And speaking of Matt, the Southwest Backpacker, he's been such a huge part of my channel this year and camp chat. Matt, the Southwest Backpacker, is with us today.
Hey guys.
How you doing, bud?
Doing good.
Hey man,
hey.
Thanks for hanging out with us.
Yeah, glad I could be with you guys today.
Yeah, you got to be here because we've done so much cool stuff this last year.
Absolutely.
That I thought, man, we got to have Matt here to do this. But one of the things we decided to do was the camp chat.
Yes.
And that was the first one that we did.
Yep.
Not knowing what we were going to do.
No, it was just kind of a spur of the moment thing.
It was, and it turned out really well. We did the video and learned a lot from it, and kind of gave us a direction to go on it.
Yes.
But that was fun.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
So yeah, check out this little piece that we did on our very first episode of Camp Chat.
Okay, we're back, and I thought we would ask Knynman Raj a question about the San Pedro Parks Wilderness video. And the question that was asked was, what happened to Knynman Raj when he was out in the wilderness? Did everything go okay while it was raining? Because we were all back at camp, and Knynman Raj was out in the wilderness doing his thing. So what were you doing out in the wilderness there?
Well, you know, we stopped and set up camp and had a quick bite for lunch, and the sun was out. It was a beautiful day, and you know, we had I think it's the Rio Las Vacas running right there by us, and so I just thought that was the perfect opportunity to take some photos and enjoy the beautiful scenery in the San Pedro Parks Wilderness. And I walked up, I wasn't very far from camp, maybe, you know, a couple hundred yards. And boy, it got dark and gray, and the rain came and the hail came, and I hunkered down in some brush for a little bit and thought it might be a passing storm, which it wasn't, and I started getting wet. So I thought, well, I'll just go ahead and walk back to camp. And then he videotaped me walking back into camp wet, and that was a little unnerving. I mean, to that point it was not a big deal, but you know, I was starting to get wet and was standing underneath a tree with just a brutal, vicious lightning storm.
There was quite a bit of lightning from it. It was popping left and right.
And I'm standing in 3 inches of water underneath an 80-foot pine tree. So I was a little bit nervous. I even took a picture of myself because I thought it might be the last picture I ever take of myself.
Right. They tell you not to stand underneath trees like that, but when you're underneath an entire forest, where do you go?
There's nowhere to go. And then there was 3 inches of standing water everywhere. I couldn't get in my tent because it was a little bibby tent which unzipped from the top, which would have meant everything that I owned would have been soaking wet. So I sacrificed and got myself wet in order to keep all my essentials dry. Yeah, that was a good time. We did some experimenting, figured out kind of some new things, what we should do, what we shouldn't, and so we decided just to move on from there. The next cool spot we went to was a place, is one of our favorites, the Sawtooth Mountains.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, as it turned out, we usually do a spring trip now and a fall trip.
Yep.
And this was our spring Sawtooth Mountains trip.
Yes.
And I also set myself up to do another foil pack, and that was the beef fajitas with the El Pinto sauce.
It's absolutely delicious.
And they were good.
Yeah, that was one of my favorites.
They were delicious. Yep, and we had a chance to take a good hike up in the mountains. I think the weather was beautiful. Typically, during the spring like that, there's a crap little wind.
Yes.
And it was not windy at all, so we had a great hike. And we also had the opportunity to sit down and do another camp chat.
Yes, we did.
And that was a great camp chat. It went a lot longer than what we had planned on doing.
It did. I love talking about gear, and I think we had a lot to cover on that trip.
And we did cover a lot of it, and thank you for bringing all your cool stuff. Man, I was fascinated with everything that you had. Yeah. And so I recommend checking that out because there was a lot of good information on that camp chat. I learned a lot. So then we ended up hiking up to the saddle and checking out some beautiful country, and the weather was beautiful. Check out this beautiful scenery. Okay, we're up at the saddle here, and I just thought I would show this awesome view that we have here. I don't know how many miles we can see. At least probably a good 100, 150 miles. And we got this beautiful bluff right here, this butte. Can't really see off the other side here because it's so wooded. And then we have this butte that overlooks us when we're down at the camp. Pretty cool. Look at that. All right, well, I think that's going to be it for our hike. We're going to head on down now. Man, that's beautiful country, isn't it?
Sure is.
I never get tired of going to the Sawtooth Mountains.
No.
We always go there. We never see anybody. We always have the place to ourselves.
It's one of my favorite places of all time.
It is. Yeah. It is, and that's why I enjoy going back in the spring and the fall. We've kind of made it a tradition to do that.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving on. Our next trip, we decided to go out and hike the Ojito Desert Wilderness. And it's a close drive, not too far away, and it is the desert. And I had to carry water for the first time in a long time. And it gets a little bit heavy, walking in the sand, carrying water.
It does.
But
you gotta carry your water in out there at that place.
Yeah, you do.
You do.
And that was a short 24-hour trip. We went out, and we had a special guest hiking with us that day, or that weekend, and that was James Blackburn.
Yes.
Yeah.
And our good friend.
And our good friend, and gaming buddy, and hiking buddy, and camping buddy, and that was one of the first outdoor adventures we had a chance to take with James Blackburn. And we also did an episode of Camp Chat. And that was fun. The background behind us was just simply beautiful.
It was.
And just the whole setting where we had our fire behind the hoodoos and just everything, the aglow, and it was a great trip.
It was.
Yeah, so check out some of this cool scenery from the Ojito Desert Wilderness. Okay. I'm a little winded because we've been coming uphill for a bit. But I think we're real close to our destination here, and called the Hoodoo Pines. So I do believe we're about here. Man, that is such a cool place, man. I'd like to go back and do that again in the spring.
Absolutely. I'd like to do that one too.
That was a great short hike. Had a great time. So leaving and going from the desert to the high mountains of the San Pedro Parks Wilderness was our next trip.
Yes.
And Matt and I had planned on I think it was 5-night, 6-day hike, or 4-night, 5 days, something like that. We had a nice long hike plan. Our original destination was the Continental Divide Trail.
Yes.
Bucket list of mine for a long time. We wanted to do a camp chat up there as well.
Yes.
And so we spent the night at the trailhead, got up bright and early the next morning and took out. And we made it to our destination, which is about a 6-mile hike.
Yep.
It took a good part of the day. We got there in the afternoon. And as we were sitting around, Matt, you want to explain kind of what went on there?
Well, was out busting some firewood and stepped on it wrong. To make a long story short, though, I opened up the bottom of my leg about 6 inches, and we had to get out of there real fast.
It was ugly. I first saw that, and it scared the crap out of me. And we are so lucky, and we've talked about this topic many times, and we're so lucky that he didn't hit a major artery.
Yeah.
Because we would have been in big trouble.
We were in a different situation.
Yeah, we were deep in the wilderness.
Yeah. Yeah, but nonetheless, it was super serious. We got out of there, and Roger got me back to the hospital, and
we cut our trip short. We got up the next morning, and see, we had planned on having a layover day, resting the sore muscles after that long-ass hike.
yes.
And we got up and packed everything back up and headed back down the mountain. And we actually made pretty good time.
We did.
We did. And
We did.
I just kind of just followed Matt, let him set the pace. And I knew we would make it down eventually. And I was impressed with the pace that you carried going down the mountain.
Yeah, we
You
went
know?
slow and steady and
And-
got back to the trailhead and
Yeah.
made it safe.
Yeah. And then we got Matt to the hospital, and that was a 3-day stay.
That was a 3-day
That was
stay.
a 3-day stay.
Yeah.
And we did a piece of camp chat after that. You got out of the hospital.
Yep.
And the next day we did camp chat. But here's a picture of Matt in the hospital, all laid up right after surgery. Yeah. And then so he got out of the hospital, and we went. He recovered for a day, and the next day we set up for camp chat in your backyard.
Yes, we did.
That was the only camp chat that we did. It wasn't actually on location, but we thought it'd be a good time to talk about what went on, and
Felt much more comfortable being there than the hospital.
in the hospital. Yeah, we had a good chat about what we did right, what we did wrong, what we could have done, what we shouldn't have done, and so we went over that really well in camp chat, and that was a good episode. So I'd recommend checking that out because we get kind of in depth with that.
Absolutely, there was a lot of really deep stuff to cover in wilderness injury.
Right. Yeah. And we're thankful Matt is healthy again.
Feeling
so
good.
we did that camp chat in his backyard, and that was a good one. Our next trip was the San Pedro Parks Wilderness again.
Yes.
Almost 8 weeks to the day.
Yes.
And we met at the trailhead. We went up and hiked a couple of miles and stopped the first night.
Yes, we did.
And then we went on up to the campsite where we originally were. We left a lot of gear.
We left a lot of gear behind.
Matt left a lot of gear behind, more than I did, because he didn't want to carry that extra weight out with his leg.
Yeah.
And there was booze, there was food, there was battery packs.
We had everything there. Nothing.
We could have
nothing
survived off of what was left up there.
Oh, yeah.
If we would have come across it.
We ate healthy the first night.
Yeah, we did. And while we were up there, we did manage to take a good day hike, and we walked up to the Continental Divide Trail.
Yes, we
and
did.
here's a few pictures of the beautiful, huge parks. The reason why they call it the San Pedro Parks. Huge, wide open. And we had an opportunity to do our camp chat, which is something we wanted to do from the very beginning. And that was exciting for me to do a camp chat on the Continental Divide Trail.
Yes.
That was really cool. And so we'll fade away and check out some of these cool pictures from the San Pedro Parks Wilderness. There's some really great stuff here, so check this out.
I think he sees us.
Man, that was a great shot of that coyote chasing that rabbit or whatever he was chasing that was buried under the ground.
Just grabbed your camera at the last minute and tried to film that. That was pretty cool.
That was really cool, and I didn't see any of that going on. I was out putting up my hammock.
Yeah.
So I missed all that action. I'm glad he grabbed the camera and got some footage, because that was priceless video. Okay, so moving on. The next trip we took, I think, was up in the Chama Canyon Wilderness.
Chama Canyon Wilderness.
Yeah, we went up to my home away from home. And that's always a great place. And it was really cool because the week before we had just got through hiking 14 miles. And so it was nice to be able to drive in and take our gear in and not have to carry it in.
Yes.
So we went into my place into the Chama Canyon, and we saw some deer, and we saw turkeys that were not shy at all.
A lot of wild turkey.
Yeah, they were coming right up to us and checking us out. It was very interesting. I've never seen turkeys be so unshy.
Yeah.
You know, that was a cool deal. And we also did, on that trip, we did another foil pack meal.
Yes, we did.
And that was green chili, chicken fajitas, and we used the Boca Alegre green chili sauce, which was delicious. It made a huge difference.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
I would recommend looking at the Boca Alegre website. And I believe they're manufacturing, and you can't go wrong. It's the next best thing to homemade green chili.
Absolutely.
It is. Yeah, and then another thing I've been wanting to do for many years is tell a ghost story that I have written several years back. I've been telling the ghost story around the campfire for many, many years, 25 years. People have told me you should write it down, and so I finally wrote it down, and I thought that would be a good opportunity up at the cabin to sit down and tell the story of Nick Black. Nick Black. And Matt was there with me, and I got to thank Matt for helping me with that, because he helped me out with the lighting and everything, and that was really cool.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun to do that.
I had a great time doing that, and you should check that out. That's kind of a cool story of a headless guy that walks up and down the river looking for his head.
And it's right in your neck of the woods.
And it's right in my neck of the woods. I scared the crap out of all my kids when they were young, and my oldest daughter says that I left her distraught her whole life because of the stories that I told her of Nick Black. But that was a fun trip.
That was a fun trip.
We had a great time, and as you can see, we saw all kinds of wildlife, all kinds of turkey, and the weather was just absolutely beautiful. Check this out. Well, it's Sunday afternoon of Labor Day weekend, and Matt and I decided to walk downriver a little bit here and take our chances at this fishing hole. There's been many big fish caught out of this spot, and so we thought we'd give it a try. As a matter of fact, this is a spot that my son, when he was really young, caught a 20-inch rainbow trout out of this hole, and he was nice and fat, so him being a kid and me being a big kid decided to cut it open and see what it was eating, and we found a full mouse inside this rainbow trout. It was just starting to be digested, and so that was interesting. So I know they're in here. Man, I never get tired of the Chama Canyon.
Nope.
There's always so much going on there. There's so much wildlife and just the scenery.
Yep.
Never get tired of it.
Well, I always appreciate when you invite me down there. It's a great place to be.
Yeah, well, you're always welcome. You know that.
Thank you.
Okay, so moving on, we went from the Chama Canyon Wilderness. Next trip was up to Daybreak, Matt's place, and our buddy Rick Earthplay went with me that time. And he and I sat down and actually did a camp chat. Matt was my co-host. He was my co-host for the whole trip. Matt was not there for that trip because he was off floating the Green River.
It's out the Green River in southeast Utah.
Yeah.
And if you guys want to see the entire trip and the entire length of that river, go to my YouTube channel. That's www.youtube.com/c/the Southwest Backpacker. Right. And you look at the Green River playlist and you'll see the entire trip there.
Yeah, I've looked at all of his Green River videos. Beautiful place, and Matt does a great job with his cinematography. Thank you. So it's always a pleasure to watch. You do great. So I would recommend watching his Green River stuff, and check out all his other stuff too. He's got a ton of stuff on there.
Thank you.
Yeah. So our next trip after Daybreak, you and I went back up to our fall trip into the Sawtooth Mountains.
Yes.
And we did our fall trip. We were in the middle of November. and the weather was just truly spectacular.
It was nice
You
and
know,
warm.
it was 60s during the days and 30s at night. We could not have asked for a better, weekend.
Better weekend to go out.
That's
Yeah.
right. And so during that weekend, I also took the opportunity to do another foil pack.
Yes.
And that was the meatloaf foil pack with the green chili and blue cheese. Man, that was my personal favorite, I think.
I think all the guys liked it.
It was delicious. So I'd recommend going back and looking at that video with the foil pack and the meatloaf, because that was just awesome. And I'm going to do that again.
That one was very tasty.
Yeah,
I like that.
Had a great time, and we also did a hike up into the Saddle area, and probably saw a piece of that a little bit earlier in the film. But this time, Matt took up his drone.
Yes.
And flew the drone around, and he was pretty brave in some of the places that he took his drone.
A little windy that day, but we braved it in a few spots and managed to get some really fun footage out there. And had a good time flying.
He did. I had a great time watching. A little nervous when I had my GoPro mounted on that thing. I didn't know if I should be pissed for him risking my GoPro or happy with that he got it back in one piece.
I'm glad we got it back in one piece.
We got it back in one piece. Yeah, so it was all good. And on that same weekend, we did an episode of Camp Chat. And we were with Terry that weekend,
Yes.
Terry Bergamo, and also our good friends James Blackburn
Yes.
also accompanied us. And we all sat down for an episode of Camp Chat. That was episode 8.
Episode 8.
We did 8 episodes of Camp Chat, and it was really cool to end the season like that with James and Terry there. We had a great chat, and I always enjoy having James on, and enjoyed having Terry there as well.
Yeah.
And that was a fun trip. We couldn't leave on time like we had planned because we had a dead battery. And so we managed to improvise and put some power packs and a solar panel and charge the jumper box that we had enough to get a jump start out of there. And Matt put most of that together. I had a few of the pieces. Matt put it all together, and
we all contributed a little something to it, and we made it work.
We did.
Yeah.
And so after about 4 hours of charging, we had enough to turn the motor over, and we were happy to get out of there.
We were out of there.
Yeah, we were happy to get out of there and get home. And then after that, the last trip I took was just before Christmas. I went to a place that I've never been before, and it was the Petroglyph National Monument. And believe it or not, it was only a 10-minute drive from my house. Basically, you start in the city and head out west into the desert, and before you know it, you're around petroglyphs everywhere. Great hike, and I can't believe I've never taken the opportunity and take advantage of the beautiful scenery and the history that was back there and all the drawings, and it really makes you stop and think about what were they thinking about when they created all these drawings. But that was a great way to end the year. I had a great hike. It was really nice and warm, and I did that hike with James Blackburn, and I got to thank him for coming along. I know you guys were out in the Sawtooth Mountains again.
Yes.
And the weather was nice, I'm sure.
It was great.
Yeah,
It
beautiful.
was just like it was when we did the Camp Chat.
Yeah, that's nice. That's a great place to go.
It is.
West Central New Mexico, and 360 days out of the year you're going to have sun.
That's exactly
You might have a couple cloudy days, but for the most part it's a great time. Well, I think that'll conclude the highlights of 2017. Knynman Raj, Dan Matt, the Southwest Backpacker. I got to thank Matt because he accompanied me on just about all these trips. And thank you for being the co-host on Camp Chat.
Absolutely.
I appreciate it.
Thank
We're
you
gonna do
for
some more this year,
being
right?
part of it. Absolutely. Looking forward to another great year.
Right, and if the weather stays nice like it has been, who knows? We may be out here in January doing some stuff.
It certainly could be.
Yeah. Okay, well, I just want to say thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching the Knynman Raj YouTube channel. Questions or comments, please leave them down below. If you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. We've got a lot of cool stuff to check out. And if you like the video, hit the like button. We always appreciate that as well.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you for watching.
Thank you for watching.
Yep.